Welcome to NextGen Timber, where heavy logs, steep slopes, chainsaws, skidders, cranes, loaders, and raw forest pressure collide in some of the toughest timber jobs on Earth. Subscribe now for more industrial logging machines, raw timber recoveries, close calls, and serious forestry power in action. That is the reality of next-generation timber work: power, precision, risk, and constant decision-making. Some days the operation runs clean. Other days, one small mistake changes the whole outcome. In this industry, machines may be stronger than ever, but the forest still decides how hard the job is going to be. Then we move into old timber reality. A tree can take 200 years to grow, and in less than half an hour, it can be brought down, moved, processed, and turned into material. That is the strange truth of logging. Nature builds slowly, but industrial timber work moves fast, so every action has to be deliberate. If a crew treats old timber like ordinary wood, the job can punish them quickly. Then a log drops down the slope like it has become a missile. The worker moving down that mountain deserves respect, because one slip on that grade could end the whole story badly. That is not normal walking. That is fighting gravity step by step, while heavy timber moves with a mind of its own. The timberjack scene is pure next-gen timber pressure. Tires dig into thick red clay, the engine roars, mud flies, and a massive log drags behind on the chain. Every inch forward is earned. Drop your guess in the comments. Does the machine pull free cleanly, or does the clay win this round? That is why every move in timber work has to be planned before force is applied. Power is useful, but power without control only creates bigger problems. A pull line, a machine angle, or a load path can look small from the outside, but in the woods, those details decide whether the job moves forward or turns into a recovery. Then things get tense around the bobcat. The operator is clearly trying to protect the machine, but situations like this can turn bad fast. Once timber starts shifting, there is very little time to react. Then the worst possibility appears. The tree starts heading toward the car. That is exactly why planning the fall path matters. Timber does not care about vehicles, fences, houses, or hope. It follows weight, lean, and gravity. If the setup is wrong, the result is already decided before the tree starts falling. A small loader can help, but it cannot fight gravity, leverage, and a moving tree all at once. Then we see damage that is not just cosmetic. This is full structural failure. One wrong calculation, one weak point, one bad load path, and the whole structure can come down. Whether it is timber, steel, or a loaded machine, once the structure fails, there is no easy way to stop the collapse. Then comes a fully loaded truck fighting through mud. From a chair, it is easy to criticize the driver. But in the forest, traction is never guaranteed. The clutch is smoking, the tires are searching for grip, and the driver has to balance throttle, patience, and timing until the mud finally lets the truck move again. The Urban 600 firewood splitter brings the pace back under control. With a 6-way wedge, hydraulic press, and tractor PTO power, it turns heavy logs into clean firewood fast. Instead of fighting every round by hand, the machine applies steady pressure and produces consistent results with far less strain. That is where modern timber technology makes brutal work smarter. The LKT Turbo 81 starts the next section with pure slope work. With a strong engine and a 4-stage planetary gearbox, this skidder is built to climb where ordinary machines would lose grip immediately. But power alone does not make it safe. On a steep forest track, one wrong angle, one rush correction, or one small misread of the ground can turn a control job into a serious problem. That is the right instinct. When the situation is already risky, communication matters as much as the saw. A crew that talks clearly has a better chance than a crew that just starts cutting. Nothing drains a crew faster than a chainsaw failing halfway through a job. The work stops, the schedule slips, and suddenly the hardest part is not cutting timber anymore. It is getting the tool running again while the job site waits. In forestry, even a small mechanical failure can slow the whole operation. The forest is not the place for blind confidence. It rewards patience and punishes shortcuts. The river crossing adds another layer of risk. A short load may be easier to lift and maneuver, but once the ground underneath turns soft, everything changes. The crew keeps pushing forward, hoping the crossing holds and the machine does not sink into the wrong spot. Water, mud, and heavy timber are a dangerous mix. But uncertainty is written all over the next scene. When someone says, "I don't know," during a tree job, that is not a small detail. That is a warning. If the crew is unsure where the tree will go, the job should slow down immediately. Some cuts look simple from the outside, but that is exactly where the danger hides. A small mistake with a jack, a wedge, or a falling direction can change the whole operation in seconds. The next crew is dealing with a serious mess. They cut a wedge, talk through the plan, and try to guide the tree away from trouble. Then comes one of those moments where common sense seems to disappear. Sometimes people make decisions in the woods that leave you wondering what they were thinking in the first place. Next, the crane takes over and reminds us what modern timber handling is supposed to look like. Huge logs are lifted, positioned, and loaded with smooth control. It is raw weight managed by hydraulic precision. When it works cleanly, it looks almost effortless, but that smoothness comes from machine power, operator skill, and careful positioning. In timber work, almost right is not good enough. The line has to be right, the pressure has to be understood, and the escape space has to be clear. That is NextGen Timber. Heavy logs, steep slopes, serious machines, dangerous cuts, muddy recoveries, crane work, skidders, loaders, and operators working where one wrong move can cost real money fast. Subscribe now for more next-generation timber machines, raw forestry action, close calls, and real lessons from the woods. Drop a comment with the moment you think came closest to going wrong.